Hi, and welcome to another edition of SPE Live, and today's Tech Talk, Digital Solutions for Intervention Operations. Joining me shortly is Noah Buck from NOV, and we're going to be talking about the advances and applications of combining real-time digital solutions and data analytics for intervention operations. We will explore how through digital applications, the advantages are significant: improved uptime, reduced OPEX, greater operational efficiencies, and management. My name is Nils Korkeson-Low, and it's my great pleasure to be your host today. And if you're new to SPE Live, check us out on social media, #SPE Live, or find us on SPE.org. We have a packed and informative schedule of SPE Lives this week. We continue with our Tech Talk theme around well interventions all this week as we lead up to the SPE ICoTA Virtual Well Intervention Conference being held on 22nd to 25th of March this year. So be sure to check all that content out. Find all that content on social media or on SPE.org. And you can catch up with all our past SPE Lives, all on demand, all for free. So find that also on social media or SPE.org. Access at your leisure. A lot of really good content there. So let's meet our guest today, Noah Buck. Noah is the Business Development Manager for NOV Advanced Analytics, Controls, and Digital Group. Here, he helps provide solutions by leveraging technology to enable NOV's customers to achieve consistent results in the field, driving down their operating costs. Noah has a strong background in coiled tubing services. Throughout his career, Noah has focused on advancing and championing the use of technology to drive more cost-effective, efficient, and safer intervention operations. Noah, welcome to SPE Live. Great to have you here. Thanks for making the time.
Nils, appreciate you having me on. This is an exciting time to be talking about tech in this space.
Absolutely, yeah, it's high time. So just a quick reminder to the audience out there, I'm quite sure you have many questions and comments around achieving operational efficiencies, particularly in drilling, workover, and coiled tubing operations. So please, fingers on buzzers. Send in your comments and questions. Noah and I would love to hear from you all. So please get busy. So Noah, to kick us off, digital solutions for intervention operations, why does this matter? Everybody has digital, right?
So I think what matters about it is that we're in an unprecedented space where we can measure a whole lot of what we're doing. And to be able to use those benchmarkings to increase the efficiency of our operations for the sake of our customers in the service space, also for the E&Ps, but I think most importantly for being able to connect the various parts of our business between in the service side, between maintenance, between operations, between engineering, and seamlessly be able to support those operations, keep them safer in the field by having better visibility, more real-time visibility, and being able to drive those dollars towards the things that need to be taken care of so that essentially costs can be lower during operation.
Okay, so yep, that's where we all want to be in those lower cost margin, also on lower cost areas, and hopefully higher margins also. So where are we today, and what are some of the future innovations? In particular, what are some of your digital solutions that you have at NOV?
Well, I think the most important thing we're doing is bringing together a lot of existing technology stacks, a lot of data acquisition systems, a lot of devices that measure the integrity and quality of the coiled tubing, for instance, that's being used in the field, enhancing visibility on its useful life. And bringing together that information, not just locally so that it's available to everybody who needs to have it at the point of the well site, but also online, where we can apply metrics and define key performance indicators to help those businesses be more efficient in what they're doing and deliver a more consistent result so that they're not getting behind on anything that might be starting to fail in the field. Things need to be changed out and things wear out, and we want to give them leading visibility on being able to accomplish getting ahead of those things before they cascade into a larger issue.
Okay, so I guess we're talking then about computerized maintenance management systems, right? So this is how you are obtaining the data and then also providing analytics for the user. Can you give us some more information around how this works, some examples perhaps?
Absolutely. So the CMMS that NOV created, and largely to service the fact that we're a company that's very diverse in what we do from a manufacturing perspective, and we've grown quite large over the last 15 years. needed to optimize being able to empower those people at the point of maintenance, whether that's the manager, the individual technician, to be able to quickly document and be able to tag in inventory, be able to manage materials being transferred between locations, and importantly, be able to report on and get visibility of all of the maintenance action items that are happening effectively in real time, and be able to use some forecasting tools to go out and see, based on a current activity level, how many man hours, how many unplanned or planned work orders were going to take place, and really unite really inventory management with maintenance and operations in a way that helped. Let me move on to, there we go. Max platform is hosting this, and Max scheduler, and Max maintenance itself. Let me go to that one real quick.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
There we go. And have it be enabled by things like the Max Edge device. And why that's important is because it eliminates the need for someone to go take meter readings. It can be looking for things like valve seat washouts, can be looking for gears and motor failures, things that are critical in a FAMICA for an operation to continue forward, and be able to drive that information in and get a detailed procedure about what needs to take place, and be able to measure how far along that maintenance is taking place, and be able to give anybody the high level visibility of where is my equipment today, so that it can go forward and be more efficient in the field and catch more wells and have more uptime is a really important piece. And creating dependencies between this and other applications like GoConnect and the Max Scheduler application as well.
So before we go on to those other applications, just a quick question here, if I may. So do you use sort of like digital twins or models to predict time to failure or time to next maintenance, scheduled maintenance, as you mentioned the edge analytics? So how are you sort of combining that to sort of give you that additional operational efficiency?
So yeah, absolutely. What's important about that is being able to have those analytics running locally, because we recognize that operations are often communications challenged, and having reliable or consistent internet on location is not a thing that can be realized all the time. There are some digital twins certainly in the subsea BOP space. We're building those essentially for the intervention and stimulation equipment groups, so that they can have basically a real-time understanding of where their equipment is, and a high-level summary of what needs to be taken care of. That empowers those guys in the field to go make those notes quickly, so that they're not burdened by admin, and they can keep the people that they partner with in maintenance and in operations up to speed, and they can more efficiently target the delivery of that inventory to get that particular action item done to keep that equipment running. Okay,
great. So you, in sort of connection to that, then you mentioned a couple of other applications, I think GoConnect and Max Scheduler. So what are those, and how do they work along with this?
So let me start with GoConnect, because it connects into the Max Maintenance application already with the Edge device. So GoConnect with CVM, condition-based maintenance or condition-based monitoring, is about looking at the full impact of the operation on the machine, so that all of the machine data from the engine or the tractor or your power pack that's driving your control system for your coiled tubing equipment, your snubbing equipment, your wireline equipment, and gives you full visibility on those key areas that are the main metrics you want to watch, whether that's filtration, particulate and oil, can be the efficiency with which your oil is still resisting saturation by water. We can see that we've got some triggering points that essentially once you hit those, you're immediately freeing water into the system, and it's going to have a pretty negative impact pretty quickly. To be able to get ahead of that and mitigate your exposure is really important. And so this is the full job in context from what the machine is experiencing. We understand that you need to do what you need to do to get the job done on location. And the equipment needs to be there running alongside you. And so in order to make sure that it's maximizing that potential, we've got full visibility that's growing into being partnered with the operations data. So you can see a relationship between what milling on plugs looks like in conjunction with, say, vibration on the reel or some other part of the spread.
So a significant then sort of aggregation of data from diverse sort of equipment. So you're talking about accessing that machine data to help operations. Can you provide more details around that? I mean, also, you know, how much instrumentation or additional instrumentation is actually needed on existing equipment, for example? Can you retrofit that sort of thing?
So the good news is that this is all retrofittable, arguably onto any type of oil field equipment that's been produced in the last 10 years. And having visibility on your older assets versus your newer, there's an equal argument to be made there about giving you better definition on what your running costs are for older equipment and what it is out of the gate. That being said, there are computers in place that are already around the equipment, and so we're taking advantage of that. The G1939 from the power packs gives us a very rich context about what's going on with the motor, what condition it's in. We add things like differential sensors to filters, a water and oil and particulate and oil monitoring system. All of these things are designed to be installed and be out of the way so that regular maintenance can continue to take place. But it gives leading visibility on temperatures being in range and helping the guys on the ground manage by exception. We're not trying to crowd their life with more dials and more gauges to watch. We want to give them a heads-up display on the key variables that are chosen by that customer. Granted, we've got some good ideas to start with, but we invite customization with everybody. And at the end of the day, help them look and without having to do a judgment call about what values they're looking at, see that it's green, yellow, red, and then drill down into the specific area that needs help so that they can keep those boxes from changing colors en masse.
So just a quick question around that in terms of, and I guess it leads up to the next question in terms of engineered models and using that with live operations data. You know, when you see a lot of live data, it's sort of how quickly do you need to react is a question I always have. Is do you react instantly? Do you allow for a pause? Do you need to sort of look at trend analysis rather than immediate changes? How do you combine all that together?
I think that's a really interesting question because in some cases the trigger of an alarm or a warning does call for immediate action, and we do want to drive a frontline behavior change that helps that equipment continue running longer and keeps people safer from other cascading issues revealing themselves. Some of these things, like a filter being in the yellow for a little bit, might cause someone to go, oh, that needs to be changed, but it's not critical to the operation stopping right now. We're safe to go ahead. We've got some time to go and continue finishing what we need to get done in the procedure. What we're learning all the time is that instances of failures are happening in many other places where they are not necessarily known to be existing. And documenting that, how long that takes and reporting on that is really what we want to do to arm the service company with the ability to see where is their equipment actually getting worn and challenged. Are high pressure basins more stressful than low pressure basins? You know, intuitively, yes, but let's go ahead and prove that and help people be more effective in where they're doing their maintenance so that they can keep those costs as low as possible.
So what kind of response are you seeing from your customers, you know, having seen this data using these kind of interfaces? I mean, I assume that the response is positive and you're seeing a net impact on their operations.
It's been tremendously exciting to engage with the people that have put these systems on. And that is because we have detected a few instances that were going to cause problems later right out of the gate. So a few things that were out of the box that weren't performing the way that they were supposed to. And so immediately we you know, being skeptical of and wanting to prove up that everything was working ourselves, called and said, hey, we see this component isn't performing the way it should. We want to make sure that it is. Granted, we just put one of these systems on, and sure enough, they walked around and saw that it wasn't, that a sight glass was indicating that something was on full bypass, and allowed them to just a couple hours later change something out that might not have been checked for 300 or 500 hours or longer. So no reason to expose the rest of the equipment to, you know, more particulate, more water and oil than there should be. We know that that causes many issues down the line that are hard to chase and hard to remedy in those finer controls. So that's one of the areas, and temperature monitoring. Some of the key components, if the cooler systems are not functioning properly, they get exposed to high temperature. It can be a matter of minutes before you have a really serious failure. And we want to let them know in a more obvious way that has happened, and they can know for how long, so that they can get ahead of and make a better decision in the short run to keep everybody safe, because an unanticipated shutdown while you're running in whole or doing anything in whole is a really tough spot to be in.
All right, so thanks for that. So that brings me on to the next question. You mentioned earlier, I'm just waiting for some audience questions to come in here. So audience, fingers on buzzers, let us know what you're thinking here. You're talking there a little bit about scheduling. So I think one of your applications is called Max Scheduler. So tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Absolutely. So Max Scheduler is designed to be a partner with the GoConnect data and with the operations data, so that we can, and the Max MT for that matter, so that we can eliminate some frankly inefficient communication that happens. In my career in coiled tubing, one of the biggest challenges every morning was doing a roll-up of utilization of people and equipment. Where were they? What were they doing? Things inevitably changed overnight, whether that was because equipment was moving, rigging up, rigging down from location, or additional horsepower needed to be brought to location, or people just needed to be changed out in the normal course of doing business, and vacation or sickness, whatever it might be. Those things were often captured in a text message, on the phone, maybe in Excel, often with an expo marker on a whiteboard and magnets. There's a lot of time we can give back to operations management and help roll these things up to present in a report by using a scheduling tool that is linked with their operations data, that is linked with their maintenance data, that is linked with their machine data, and all of those things together allow them to more quickly summarize, what am I doing, who am I working with, more quickly identify where the situations that help us succeed the best in the field. Keep track of things like turndowns and who are you working for the most, and what type of jobs on balance are you there to do the most. And certainly what we're excited about with Max Maintenance is that a lot of the reporting tools and functions there are paving the way for exactly the same kind of reports you'd want in a scheduling application. So making it one place to go look at that information, where multiple members of the management team can go and see a full summary of what are we doing today by district, see the people on tower, off tower, and have an audited log of what equipment came in, what people came in and out, from the time of dispatch all the way up to when you're done with the job. Being able to keep track of all of that.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like a dream come true that you have all that information available and it's aggregated. So now we're in this digital world. How much of this interface is sort of like available? Obviously, it's available through computers and laptops and desktop, but also mobile phones and tablets. I assume is also you get the same kind of applications available.
So the applications are absolutely portal driven. They're in a browser app right now, so they work very well on tablets. In fact, the Max Maintenance application has a tablet, a ruggedized tablet that can come with the subscription and getting all the equipment in there, so that guys in the field can more quickly add those things in. You can also do it offline, of course, right? Because documentation is still documentation, even when you've got to do it written down, and to give them a thing that they can do it with, interact in the same space, and then the next time it touches the internet, update everything, is a really useful tool. It's a thing NOV uses globally with over 1,000 daily users in the Max Maintenance application itself.
So this is partly the lead up to the ICoTA Well Intervention Conference in a couple of weeks' time. Are cold tubing operations and well intervention operations, are they more intensive than other standard well site operations? Is there a difference in the type of scheduling and that sort of thing? I'm sort of thinking how intensively these kind of applications would be used.
Well, the thing we have to acknowledge with wireline, with coiled tubing, with snubbing, is that while a degree of it can be planned, and frac certainly has a benefit there, all of them have logistical challenges because of the highly mobile nature of the service that they're trying to deliver. And that in and of itself makes them efficient. They can get into location, they can rig up quickly, they can do the job, they can get out. The dynamic nature of when callouts happen for coiled tubing, for wireline, for snubbing, make it challenging to necessarily get quick visibility on what do I have available to me right now, and pulling together resources and making sure that with one click of a button, you can make sure that all the people on an assigned team, supervisor group, can get the information about who are they working for, what are they doing, what equipment are they taking, where are they going, things like that, and streamline that process so it's more clear. The dynamic nature of those things are going to continue to be the case. It's the distinct advantage that they present to the market. And I would argue that that's the thing that is still being pushed today is how can we more quickly mobilize, how can that equipment more safely and more dependably get to location, more speedily rig up, keeping people safe. And so being well prepared and well organized on the front of that with as little effort as possible is really critical to making that happen consistently.
Yeah, absolutely, and certainly in sort of the intensive type of operations, as you mentioned there, sort of particularly fracking, and mostly I'm thinking now land operations, where there's kind of that factory mode mentality. You have require a lot of, I mean, it's all down to logistics in the end, is how effectively you apply the logistics, and this is the core of your applications. So I'm thinking in terms of the day-to-day operations and giving back time, as you mentioned earlier. I think earlier you mentioned digital whiteboards. So how can they be effective in giving back more time to the operators in their operations?
Well, I think the digital whiteboard is obviously a direct analogy to the literal thing that a lot of people use today. But we've got screens in front of us, whether that's our phones, our tablets, or our computers, certainly big screens on the wall, lots of offices. We wanted to make sure that we could communicate the same type of clear messaging about who are we working for, when is that happening, what equipment do I need, who's on the job, and make it easy to move those assets and people around without having to really make people drag stuff around on the whiteboard, make those clicks move more quickly than those things, and make sure that when operations managers and field supervisors are out in the field, that they can go check on things and see where everything is at, get on the same page. And I think that's the challenge with the whiteboard as it is today, is that the existing whiteboard is in one place and it's relatively static. And there's you have to physically move, or there's not a camera you can remote in to look at it. So that's one of the solutions we've delivered here by creating that space to make it more obvious about for whom, with what, and who's working that job.
Absolutely.
Capture all that documentation together. Yeah,
absolutely. And so, I mean, so the application you're talking about are just excellent. I can really see how they sort of can help anchor operations and give greater operational efficiency. So now, we're in the age of digital, so artificial intelligence always comes up, and sort of machine learning, but in particular artificial intelligence. So without giving away some of the secret sauce, are there plans to sort of apply artificial intelligence to some of these applications that you have to, bring additional efficiencies?
Well, in earnest, there is machine learning taking place, and we have done quite a bit of really interesting R&D on location, collecting vast amounts of information in short periods of time, where we've been looking for the stuff that is less than obvious. Knowing operationally, with pressure pumping, for instance, it's really important to know when your valves and seats are working properly. Same thing with your packing. When those things start to go out, often the 15 to 30 minutes it might take to identify specifically which pump or pumps are having an issue and spinning up extra horsepower in that application, that's a fairly inefficient amount of time that you can have back, and you can be getting after that frac zone with full access to everything you need to get it done the way that's prescribed, and be able to get that equipment, the service it needs, directly and more quickly so that it can be back in line and helping out. And look, the same thing goes for pump down. The same thing goes for coiled tubing. You know, look, a vast majority of the stuff we do in North America and South America now with coiled tubing requires a reliable pump on location, and being able to know when that pump needs to be serviced more quickly is really important to keeping that intervention on track and everybody safe on location. So yes, we're developing some things and continuing to go to the field to collect more information. And it's been exciting to see how quickly we've been able to progress forward to help with defining things like state detection generally with the technology stacks that are already in the field, without necessarily having to add the tremendous amount of hardware that is sometimes being used in frac in order to unify the data. The Max Edge device is a thing, along with stuff like OrionNet and other softwares, DAS Track and things like that, that are enabling us to unify all that information in context.
So that's excellent. And, you know, it brings me to my last question for you. So, you know, with all your experience, the before and after, you know, how much sort of, we started the conversation and sort of talking about improving uptime and operational efficiency. So can you give us like a ballpark figure, you know, how much more efficient are yourselves and your customers in terms of using these kind of applications?
Well, I think that using our industry experience and knowledge and talking to lots of our customers and mobilizing, you know, the costs of ongoing maintenance of equipment, you know, whether that's sticking strictly to the OEM schedule or otherwise, the reality of getting into services means that often the money spent keeping your equipment up and the coiled tubing in the field, the coiled tubing itself, can often outpace the cost of the equipment itself relatively quickly in its, you know, projected 5 to 10 year lifespan. So we feel confident with the condition-based maintenance system, CBM and GoConnect, that the addition of a system like this can save over the life of the equipment approximately 25% of ongoing maintenance costs. And if you look at it in that context, that amount of money can often be, over a 10-year period, much more than the capital equipment itself. So in terms of you know, help to the bottom line, I think that, you know, things like CBM, and when it's understood how often it's working and what condition it's in, what maintenance action items needed to take place in order to keep something maximally available for revenue generation. You know, that's just a metric we were picking from strictly just maintenance savings by being able to get ahead of known issues. There's no doubt in my mind that there is a great much amount more that people can accomplish by having the finger on the pulse of their operation more consistently. And I don't mean that in a way where they need to be up and at it 24/7, but in terms of having a better summary and a better understanding from a business perspective about what's happening, so they can more efficiently apply their resources.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, you mentioned there sort of supply chain and maintenance and spares and that sort of thing. You know, I can see there's significant impact on that supply chain efficiency itself. You know, you can have in-time supplies being provided, you carry smaller inventory, you require less backup equipment, all because you have, as you say, a much better picture of what your equipment's doing in the field. So thank you. That's really interesting to hear. So thank you very much, Noah, for talking to us today about your digital solutions for intervention operations and the wider field operations. It's been very interesting to talk to you and hear about your current innovations and technologies. So thank you.
Thank you, Nils. Appreciate you having me, and it's an exciting time, and we're looking forward to getting more technology out there to help people perform at their best in the field.
Oh, we have one last question from the audience. Thank you very much, John Dahl. So John Dahl on LinkedIn. So he's asking what analytics to aggregate the sensor data into new information. So lessons learned from having more new data streams that can be of value to continuous improvement initiatives. What are your thoughts around that? That's a real juicy question. Thanks, John.
It is. Thank you, John. You know, one of the things that I didn't expect to see in the field data that we've been getting back is a clear signature of an ERT downhole by simply monitoring equipment at surface. And from some places in the equipment arrangement in intervention with coil tubing where I didn't expect to see that. But there is some very clear indications of ERT's functioning. Being able to define the quality of that in the context of state detection, which we're absolutely working on, to help classify the activities that are going on, and give everybody a view of, hey, what am I up to right now? Am I tripping? Am I milling? Am I doing something else? Fishing, TCP. But that's one of the things that's almost ever present in most interventions where plugs are being milled out, is there's an extended reach tool, ERT, and that being able to see that from somewhere that is relatively set back from where you would expect to be able to understand how it's performing is given me some lots of things to think about and our team to think about, and so being able to understand that is really exciting.
Yeah, I mean that sounds almost like a sort of how we monitor stuff, satellites around the moon type of thing. It's very sort of, as you say, remote sensing in a way. So that's really exciting. It certainly opens up new doorways to new possibilities. So it'd be exciting to see how that evolves over time. So thank you. Thanks, John, for that really excellent question to round us off there. And thanks again, Noah, for picking that one up and give us an idea of what's to come still in this field of digital innovation. So thank you. Thanks, guys.
Of course. Appreciate the opportunity. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you. And more tech talks this week coming up. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, as we lead into the ICoTA SPE conference on well interventions. Catch us on Tuesday, tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday as we look more at these different stimulation and intervention operations and applications. So audience, once again, thank you very much for joining us here on SPE Live. It's been great having you here today. And thank you to Asha, our producer for the show, and thank you to the SPE Foundation and to NOV for making this tech talk possible today. So thank you both. Join us tomorrow on SPE Live, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. My name is Niels Skogsson. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.